Peace, 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 peace. Greetings, peace, greetings to all. Greetings. Peace, 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 peace. Listen, give me growth over fame any day. I think the deeper I become aware of what people really have signed up to, signed up with, spiritually, mentally, emotionally, let's get my honest source. What some may say my unbiased opinion on this, or my I guess you could say unbiased opinion, but let me see if I can find a position and see it. Unbiased opinion on something that I feel. And it's funny, 'cause I was sitting in the car and I was like, should I discuss this? I'm not gonna call out no names. Y'all, if you're not aware, some of y'all are very familiar with even celebrity culture. Some of you that are from places that internationally probably don't even have no idea of these people. But I'll be the first to say, you're not missing out on nothing. And that's not all, but for real, you're not missing out on a lot. I still have a firm belief that we were force-fed stuff so young for no reason, no appointed reason. Take a day to sit by a tree, get a great view. This chair isn't the most comfortable. It's probably be better. I need a little sun rays when I'm sitting down. Little sun rays. That was like a good spot over there. Yeah. So anywho, yeah, I was in the car, and this is something that's been itching at me, man. Stop. I just want to tell a lot of you out there, stop exposing your kids, man. This ain't ever sit well with me. I even had to tell my partner. And again, I'm going to be speaking from my experience because I'm just more aware. The awareness even around having a daughter. The awareness, oh, this is perfect. The awareness even around having a daughter and just a son and so forth. I feel like we don't come into things to just not be held more accountable now to be responsible for not only ourselves but for them. So that being said, yeah, man, we have on this journey, the healing journey. I think I already said that. Give honor to the ancestors known and unknown, and source, the creator, most high. But yeah, man, I see energies play out. I see things play out through people. I see the narrative that I grew up in and how I'm rewriting it, standing in my own power, speaking up, speaking my truth. Like I said, some may say unbiased opinion or just from my perspective. Protecting your inner child is having the awareness around protecting your kids. For those of you that are on this journey, healing journey, or a journey of self-discovery, self-mastery, whatever the fuck you want to call it, there's still a responsibility as you learn more about your inner child. There's still a responsibility to, if you're, even if you don't have biological kids, it's the awareness around like how much so um we have allowed so much we've been exposed to young. We got to ask ourselves, will we continue to allow that to ripple beyond, you know, to our kids? It feels great. At the time, it did feel like I should have felt guilty or ashamed because I chose to do things differently when it came to raising myself. Well, raising my kids, or as I say, like raising sons, growing daughters, because the perspective is completely different. So with that, the approach is going to be completely different. Um, as I unlearn and relearn to reparent myself and so forth, for me, again, it just brings more awareness to better myself daily, to be a better version for myself, to take moments to myself, to come to y'all and share, you know, some real authentic shit. Because honestly, man, I was reflecting on in the car, like something I wanted to talk and relate it to like what y'all call celebrity culture or just celebrities or artists. And I was telling myself like, whoa, it's not to say people aren't talented or whatever you want to call it, but on a deeper level to see even what like how they were just how some of them like when I was just saying a minute ago, like stop exposing your kids to shit that they don't need to be exposed to. There are things that are beyond one's control, but at the same moment, you have the responsibility to plant seeds in your children's life to remind them if they were to drift, they know that they can come return to shore, return to the source, which as a guardian you will be, meaning that return to their roots of where things begin. So being the first to do certain things as such, it can become very uncomfortable for a lot of people. One thing I had to stand on business with is telling my partner like we shouldn't put our kids on social media. Certain things where again it's like so much exposure to their fucking innocence to where a lot of people don't realize like a lot of y'all don't even know what privacy is. You never even had a private life. You know, your life most of your life has been on public display. And in a way it's like humiliating because a lot of kids don't even you're telling a child and again to each their own. It's like when people have a child it immediately is like share to the world. That's and everyone doesn't do this, but that's one thing that I've you know, I can say I have kids, I can say I have this, but it's even so much more beautiful that to some people, depending on their belief system, will feel a sense of betrayal or feel like you can be very fucking selfish, but not realize that due to certain experiences, due to my own upbringing, and I'm not gonna say fears, it's the awareness around protecting myself, and now coming into that awareness of standing in my power, having a greater responsibility to instill in my children and to pour into them very young. It ain't just when they, even in the womb and when they come out, like, hey, you are here to experience life. And so again, I've talked about how we were exposed to things very young, and a lot of us don't even realize how we're unconsciously or continuously these repetitive patterns of how the powers that used to be or how our mothers and fathers didn't have a responsibility to our emotional well-being, physical well-being, so forth. So for a lot of us, we're the first to do a lot of things in this lifetime, in this, on this journey. So it pisses them off. So what? Because again, the beauty of walking this path and realizing how important it is to return to the essence of myself and recover the wholeness of who I am from what was exploited and exposed, what I was exposed to very young. And I was sitting back here, like reflecting on even the music industry, even the culture in itself. I was like, wow. There's a specific song that came on, and I had this lingering, like, the topic to talk about how some of these your favorite artists was exposed so very young. Like I'm talking about, some of them came out singing at teenage, like a teenage age, and for me, I'm sitting here like I feel it to be like fucking oddly weird or strange, whatever it is, for it to have someone obsess over you. That's what I mean, like how we were force fed certain artists or certain kids who never really told their side, but some of them probably eventually will, because you will see them fade to the background because a lot of what they've been doing has not been in authenticity because of certain things that they have assigned to or um, agreed to. And with that being said, it's like to see how a lot of those caregivers like allow their kids to be exposed so young, exposed to adults, exposed to people and their vices, exposed to people that you know nothing about, whether they're industry or corporation. And you know, I relate it so well to even when we're young. I was telling someone, I was telling my partner the other day, I said, when you know, the fucking systems or the school systems and all that shit, I'm like, y'all don't even know y'all kids, because if they're in a school system or something, mostly 8 hours a day or 7 hours, and then for a lot of you, when you by the time you see them, if you do have an awareness or care about their well-being, you don't even ask how their day was. They're already dealing with their own shit in the school, whether they're bullied, whether they're having to try to figure out life outside of probably what they got to go home to, whatever vices and so forth. So you're talking about not only being exposed to things young, but being exposed to people who probably don't give a fuck about them. I can relate to that, like teachers and so forth. So I see that the correlation or the connection, even to having been in the fashion industry, having been in modeling, and you know, learning things and seeing how much even as an adult you're exposed to. There's so many things. Even as a kid, the most vulnerable part, well, we're still vulnerable now, but the most vulnerable and you know state is like when we're a child, very young, and the only person there outside of being connected to source, but the, you know, in the spiritual sense, but outside of who's supposed to protect us in the physical sense, man, so many people have been exposed so young. Like I said, like most people don't even know who they are. So you talking about them giving over their kids to these corporations and the shit that's crumbling, and y'all in disbelief because you're questioning yourself like, well, I don't know why they act the way they act. Well, you're not even around them most of the time to even be aware, to even know their actions. Like I was telling my partner, I was like, yo, how does this make sense to give over your child to people you don't know? The daycare. Like I said, it serves its purpose, but you're talking about the fact of things that are really not benefiting mothers. And I'm not saying it in ways where they're not there, that it serves its purpose because the mother has to go do things and so forth. But I'm looking at the loopholes. I'm looking at the foundations of shit that literally keeps their children being exposed to unwanted things. Um, and then keep the mothers in a place of questioning, you know, basically instability, emotionally, mentally, and so forth. So then this keeps a cycle going. So this goes back to even how a lot of us being exposed to things young, and I'm relating it like knowing some artists or people that I even know. I'm sitting here like, yo, these kids were exposed so young, and some of their guardians wasn't even people who really were in integrity or authenticity. It was more so exposing that child to certain things and not really focus on the well-being of the child. Like when I be really hearing the music and I'm like at this awareness now where I'm like, yo, what the fuck were we listening to? Everything was just overly sexualized, having little girls focus on, you know, the crush of the little boy, and then similarly to boys having crushes on the women, and it's like being exposed to things so young, like being exposed to even sex or the idea of it so young. I'm like, yo, not only do they expose those little kids, you know, those artists young, and it lures or make those little girls be like, oh, it's such and such. And I'll be like, you know, as a father, my perspective has changed. My belief system has changed around it because I'm sitting here like, yo, now what is that artist really? What is their intentions? what really are their intentions? Outside of their music. And then when you don't really see growth. Like you will see like certain things, like their experiences, but when I look at some of them, I'm like, where's the growth? It's always the same. It's almost like exploitation of themselves, or them exploiting themselves, or them having to give up something, a part of themselves just to like literally lure people in, or just to receive some type of praise. And I'm like, whoa. And I could just see a lot of emptiness. I'm telling myself like, yo, like, what have we like been bamboozled into believe? Like, meaning like, where's the substance? If all you can talk about is sex, then where's the substance? If it's not something that really talks about the empowerment of creating life, just sinning from a lower state. So I was like, yo, shout out to Solara for like on this topic. Solara speaks on this topic of how even the industry in itself, which I know a lot of people can relate, but me seeing how a lot of them were exploited and what they signed up to. Like I said, I don't know all the details to what other people have done, and that's going to be their karma or judgment per se. Other than that, from my perspective, I'm sitting here like, yo, you're talking about kids that were singing about not even just love, but marriage and sex and certain things. Like some of these singers was like 13, 14, 15. 13, 14, 15. Right, either when they're coming into what we call puberty. Probably never even had sex or anything. But even then, why would you be wanting to even discuss that so young? Then I asked myself, why would music or whoever managing and all this other stuff like want someone to be obsessing over a child? Man, it's I be sitting there like, whoa. And the energy is so similar to um like like sexual abuse in a way, because if I when I recall about being, young and touched on very young, unwantedly, like unwanted, I can only imagine like those kids that young that who are artists, like people pressuring them or giving them over so easily. And I'm seeing like a lot of these artists now, the only thing they can talk about is the same shit. No sense of empowerment, no sense of awareness, no expansion consciously, no nothing, no substance. It's the same thing. And for a lot of them, I'm like, you just got concubines, succubus, incubus, whatever you want to call it, all this Jezebel shit running right behind them. And I'm like, they gotta carry the same shit. I'm like, okay, this makes a lot of sense in the music then. This makes a lot of sense because I'm sitting here like, yo, I'm very like, who was it? Nas, like, you know, days are colder, nights are shorter. What did he say? Something where he's like, we got to be more conscious on how we raise our daughters. It was a verse like that, and like that shit sticks with me because of the simple fact, like how I see a lot of mothers who don't even realize like their woundings and how their woundings were preyed on through the music, through the foundations, through the communities, through the authoritative figures. People just getting close to them. Ladybug, I'm on. People just getting close to them, preying on their woundings, being exploited sexually so young, and feeling like that's a belief system that they have to have in order. That's the same shit I see when a lot of those women want to get close to an artist. And it's like I used to hear that shit. Like I used to actually date someone who obsessed over a certain artist, and I'd be like, "You think I'll care? Want to hear about that? Like if I'm in a connection with you?" And then I really start to put two and two together because when I reflect on that connection, it was a trauma bond, but it was more of a sexual thing. Because I know and believe she was exploited or exposed to sex very young. Because like I said before, me being 35 and again, sexual education, like that shit they taught you in school, like they went over this and this and that, and it's basically saying, well, you can get this or be careful because this is or this, STD, da 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 da. That ain't prevent nothing. That ain't prevent nothing. Because most of those kids have already been doing it in like earlier. So what are you opening up our kids to anyway when you're sitting here talking about girl on boy, singers talking about the same stuff, the same shit. Then if your daughter's listening to it, it's literally opening them up instead of closing them off. Instead of protecting what's most like something that's cherished, like their womb space, their mind, and so forth. And so it's beautiful because the having this awareness, again, I've said before, is to remind my daughter the creator she is, the co-creator, the beauty she is, not just young, but as she grows, it grows into her womanhood, but still remember the beauty of her childhood. Those experiences and the seeds that I plant as a father, the mother and father energy that she has, the feminine and masculine principles that has been restored. I don't think y'all realize like what we've been up against when it comes to the fact of like how y'all going to see so much exposed when it comes to the ending of certain cycles, the ending of certain things where a lot of us in our generation were exploited, exposed very young to the predatory behavior. Same thing with these artists. They carry the same succubus, incubus energy. They carry the same spirit. Their mom and daddy never sat down with them. Again, you talking about a place where it was normalized for people. I knew people who had sex as early as like 9 and 10. I'm like, what? What? And so, if there's no guidance and there's no support, and mothers and fathers are not in the picture and so forth, then you having daughters going around little boys, being exploited. Things that I seen very young. I didn't have no guidance. I was kissing. My first kiss was in second grade. What? I didn't have no business doing no shit like that. Mm-mm. And people don't realize like the reason I'm speaking about this and the importance of even some of those artists and certain things is because they're so far gone. They're so consumed by whatever vices and darkness or whatever. They're not gonna come out of that because as we shift into the awareness of like how it is we grow our daughters, the matriarchal um, that will keep this foundation moving forward in the generations grounded. Then those men that come, the sons that they give birth to, these will be the new nations, the new communities, the new environments. Whether y'all believe it or not, no, that is the split. That is the shift. They will know the values of themselves. And the ones who are aware of that, the mothers who are willing to do the shadow and healing work and realize that the sexual trauma and what they was exploited to and had no idea, it's not your fault. Once you start to become more aware and like, oh my gosh, I was exposed to this shit young, thinking that it was just a game. You know how many of those women and men have things they can't get rid of? And like, there's things that can be healed now. I will say that. Like, that's something you would have to do a deeper research on, like, holistically. But there are people who don't have access to that. I knew specifically people where I grew up in my small town. They knew of a guy who had what they call HIV. That guy was so like so selfish or so in a place to where he was engaging with younger women, and also other women in that said community. So I'm sitting here like, bro, And so, like I said, to relate that to the industry that a lot of y'all have not been accustomed to or know nothing about, you think that that ain't nothing but another different world with the same fucking vices, principalities, spirits, and so forth. I can look at some of these artists, actors, and so forth. As you deepen your awareness, as you come more deep into yourself as an empath and become more aware of who you are, I can look and see and be like, whoa, if I'm ever around them, ain't no touching me, rebuke, return the sender, ain't no touching me, ain't no getting close to me, nothing. Man, y'all don't realize how a lot of people in said positions were anchoring a lot of what was happening and how a lot of this shit is being dismantled is no difference than from that level to in your communities. Let me say that again. Just because you saw someone publicly being something displayed, it's no difference than you finding out that pastor or that other person, that cousin. It's like when she was playing out with certain artists or certain people, certain energies playing out. I saw it on all levels. That shit was playing out through my I ain't gonna say my tribe is different, but the lineage that I came from, the family that I came through, I saw that shit playing out. I saw things playing out with my own mother. So I was like, yo, to see what they were exposed to young, I was like, that's an energy. That's a spirit there. You don't even know if you're talking about artists that was 14, 15, being invited to other grown men, women, meetings, houses and shit. You cannot tell me. That's common sense. This is common sense. That's like my mama saying, like, son, go over here with this. I don't even know them. You not even there, so no one knows. As a guardian, as a parent, if you got common sense, you'd be like, it's a possibility that I can say yes or no. There's gonna be so many possibilities that anything can happen if I'm not there, or if I haven't even told this child who's probably not at a level of awareness consciously to even know that that's not okay. So when I say a lot of things has been forced on us, a lot of people don't even get this shit. Y'all don't even realize how much has been forced on us. That we're trying to recover our innocence by working through things, by liberating ourselves, by seeking, like, recovering our sovereignty. We were sovereign or innocent as a child. I heard some elders say, like, when they see a baby, it's like, man, must be life, must be nice to not to have to worry about nothing. Listen, it's no difference than now. What if your mother and father, who was not aware consciously of who they were, projected their worries and their fears upon you? But as a child, aren't we always fearless and innocent? Aren't we the most sovereign as we've always been? Fearless? So what does that tell you that we're recovering? I've always been fearless. And if religion, anything wasn't introduced to me, guess what? Fearless. But when you grow up with bullies and people, I got to that point, like, y'all don't realize how deep this shit goes. I literally, like, years ago, when I say I was restoring my authority within myself, I stood up to the very person I told you who was my first bully. I literally, I understand, I wanted to put pause on my mama. Y'all don't realize how deep this shit, I wanted to put pause on that woman. And guess what? Many would have said, oh, that's your mama, da 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 da. She didn't whoop your ass for that many years. She didn't project onto you how much she hated you. She didn't do that shit to you. And then you're asked to hold this in growing up as a little boy. And then you take this into relationship. This is awareness I had to become, to where people can cause so much hell in your life. And then once you find heaven and paradise again, and the only way through that, from being exposed to things so young to find heaven again, is to recover the parts of you that sometimes had nothing to do with those very people. Because all they ever caused was hell and created chaos. So now I, I'm the destructive one because I'm destroying their illusion that they wanted to keep me. People, you got people so fucked up in the mind psychologically, like, that's your mother. Don't disrespect her. She never respected me. Some of y'all allow people to stay in your fucking lives who has blatantly never taken accountability for realizing that they never had care to build a foundation upon self-respect because of what they've been exploited to. Exploited, I mean, exploited and exposed to, and unconsciously, which is so dangerous, have no awareness of trying to better themselves, trying to gain a sense of awareness, trying to heal, face things. You want me, you're asking me to have respect for them? I barely want to give them an ounce of grace. And grace is giving myself grace and patience to be able to walk away and not fuck people up. Cause y'all be getting confused. That overly nice shit, that what was that topic I was talking about? That passive aggressive shit, not over here. Not over here. Go over there. Cause this world that I'm creating is a balance. If you think you can come over here and try to build some dysfunctional shit, it will be destroyed. It will be dismantled. Because none of that exists in my reality anymore. Y'all don't realize y'all have kept and stayed glued to people who have caused so much of dysfunction and cling so tightly to you that you don't even know how to be you and develop your own belief system. So what you do if you have kids or if you go out into the world, you have this obligation or this wounded ego to believe that people should just subscribe to everything that you do in your belief system. Or not even just your belief system, more so is that you don't even have that much security within yourself to realize like they don't have to respect or honor your belief system. And even if they don't, they also don't have to be in your life. I know someone right fucking now, their health is declining. And some people might say this is cold to do whatever. Guess what? Let me tell you something. Let me tell you something. Let me tell you something. Respect. If you ain't gonna respect it and honor the belief system, like when it comes to, like, you know, walking in integrity, being authentic, you have no seat at this table. And I'm not gonna keep giving you opportunity or things to keep showing me, oh, I'm gonna change. No. Like I said, there's people I know right now who would love to be back in my reality or in my space or whatever. No. No. That goes for youth, spirit, that go all unwanted shit. No, you have no room. Because once you start to recognize the entities and the spirits and shit that come with people and certain things, you'll be able to wear what you no longer want to be in your world, in your reality. You have the authority. You command that shit. Cause mama and like I said, y'all don't know what people have went through and gotten through to be to where they are, the peace they had to obtain, the heaven, the paradise within. And people will be offended. Oh, I love them. Like I said, I know people right now going through things that they brought in their own life. With their narcissistic aspect, or they'll make everybody believe, spread a smear campaign that that person was the one that caused it and take and run from accountability. So again, a lot of us have been exposed to, you cannot make people do anything. But due to the fact of what we were exposed to so young, we took on so many other people's belief systems of how we should be in this world, how we should act, so many things to where it's like you don't even know how to be you without the validation of a mother or a father or someone else, rather than knowing how to be yourself. And I see those the industry, a certain lot of things, certain corporations, business, it's the same thing. If you don't abide by this, basically dim your light. Don't be yourself, or else there's a punishment, there's a consequence. How many people you know came along in this world that rebelled or just walked in their truth, and they were so confident in their truth, they basically say, if it's fuck me, it's fuck you too. We be sitting here a lot, like, no. Once you stand in that and you realize, like, no, you have no authority here, you or anybody else. There's a there's a respect. I respect myself. You can respect me too. If not, toodaloo. So that, like, you know, shout out to those who are trying to recover. If you're a recovering addict, if you're a recovering whatever, due to what the fuck you was exposed to young. But don't let no one guilt trip and make you believe that you should accept someone or um just make you feel ashamed or guilt because they should be in your life. I don't, bro. I'm telling. I know somebody, people, multiple people, health or whatever it is, because they brought it up on themselves. Like some things I cannot speak on, but for some of them I know, and I'm not gonna feel guilty or anything because y'all don't know the details of certain things, how it unfolded. But if I'm transitioning, I'm in a better place. Some people ain't even gotta worry about me even a thought coming across my mind or of some type of sympathy or anything because again, folks don't be knowing what when you were going through something very young, you don't know that recovering process. That shit could be years for people. So when I sit here and I see what people have been exposed to young, exploited, how their mothers and fathers put them here and caregivers and people did not care. And once they start caring, I keep telling my partners, no one's gonna care more than you about you. No one gonna care more about your well-being until you take that initiative to care about it. Then you align with people who care about it. A lot of people I know right now, they didn't care about their well-being, so it's like they keep telling them, oh, you need to do this, you need to do this. Those days are over with. The shift is already here, y'all. It's about aligning with those and going to higher awareness, higher timelines, higher experiences with people who align with that. And as you, what a glimpse of that will look like is seeing the old energy that either you were in or seeing it play out through other people. It's wild, man, because when I'm telling y'all the exposure shit, bro, it's no different than like, when I see people just expose their kids on social media or exploit them in so many ways, so willingly want them to be a star. Like, bruh, instilling your kids the importance of they're already a fucking star. And that's spiritually speaking. We all come in with a zodiac sign. If you're into that, it don't. We all represent something spiritually, ethereally, cosmically. So to say, oh, this person, I don't give a fuck about no star, no walk of fame. I've been out there to see all those fucking people on the street shot up with drugs. You know what I mean? People I saw literally go out there exploit themselves sexually, exploit themselves in drugs because they had no fucking guidance or no awareness, and they felt like that was they were supposed to do that just to get to the top of what? I will go there. These are some of your artists. These are some of the people. I know people personally that was on Skid Road. If you don't know what it is, look it up. That shit blew my mind when I used to live in Oakland, bro. And I used to walk the street. I used to walk, go to the bar, go to the train station. You in the South. So y'all gotta realize, like, traveling is amazing because it will change your whole perspective. It will open your awareness to life. You know what I'm saying? Being aware. Like, and bring more appreciation and self-awareness to not only yourself but to other people. Connect, go out, do something fucking new. When I was out there, bro, I saw what is it? I saw, what do they call it? Tent City. All those blue tents, seeing people like you going up on the bridge. I ain't ever in my life, like I told y'all before. I only knew like one or two people as a kid that lived on the street, and even with that, they had a home for real. It wasn't like a shelter type shit. I don't even think there was a shelter then. And then I started to realize like how, even through those experiences, how the exploitation, how they were exploiting women. through a lot of things, exposing them to never feeling a real sense of security, help and support at the same. When you talk about empowering, there's no empowerment in a lot of that shit. They're not really focused on their well-being. They don't know shit about inner child. Yeah, they'll offer them certain services to an extent. You talk about shit that's been dismantled as we speak, because I call it out and I speak about it because I've been there. I see the women who, again, seeing how they're treated from staff, seeing how they're shortchanged or breadcrumbs. There's no empowerment in that, because those same people in those same positions are most of the time that you don't see is someone who don't look like them, who don't give a fuck about them. That's probably a different shade, who probably cannot relate. And then most of the time you'll see a staff that is probably predominantly kind of darker, simply because of what they can kind of relate more. But they also have their vices and shit. They also have their insecurities and so forth. They're also wounded. Then they're taught to mask themselves in a program. The program, but a director can be someone who don't look like them, who don't really engage, who give off this being nice because they have to, but don't really give a fuck about them. They just be nice, and it goes back to what I've said before, the um the passive aggressive shit that's so solely we've been grown up to believe that we have to be. It's passive aggressive, not just as darker people in America, but the racism aspect. How dare you show your anger? How dare you be aggressive? How dare you be angry? Oh, we won't support you at all, because most of those people outside